MSRP is a joke and scalpers are not the actual problem. This video could get me canceled, everyone, but before we dive in, my name is Matt with RTCG, and I'm gonna invite everyone to like and subscribe. I promise that first statement followed by please like and subscribe to my channel is gonna go flat. So if you are tuned in right now and you are really heated because I just said scalpers aren't the problem, hit that dislike button, but I do encourage you to stick around for a couple of minutes. So this is my honest thoughts towards the market, which is absolutely on fire. Both we're booming and things are like on fire, guys. Listen, I want to share my thoughts here because I think that this is worth having a conversation and discussion about. I think it's perfectly fine if you're watching this and you totally disagree with my takes here. I encourage you to jump down in the comment section and let me know how wrong I really am. But before you dive down in the comment section, hear me out for a couple minutes, get a good sense of what I'm saying and why I'm saying it. Because chances are you and I probably think somewhat similarly, and maybe this take isn't that far off from what you feel, and maybe we'll agree on some things and disagree on others. But let's go ahead and dive into it. We're gonna talk about MSRP first, and then we're gonna dive into the scalper conversation, which I think is very important. MSRP is a joke. What do I mean by that? Well, MSRP literally stands for the manufacturer suggested retail price. It's suggested, guys. This is the price that any manufacturer values their products at and what they recommend retailing it at. They manufacture their products, they sell at a wholesale rate to distribution centers or to retailers, and then they say, hey, take what I just sold you, mark it up by X percentage to MSRP, and this is what we think you can get from our product. That is all just a suggested price, and the actual working out of the market, whether we're talking water hoses or we're talking Pokémon cards or we're talking plungers for your toilet, nothing is ever going to exactly be at that MSRP rate. If you walk into Walmart right now, I promise you're gonna see a clearance aisle. I promise that those items on the clearance aisle are marked under MSRP. Also, depending on what season you're in, whether it's going into the fall season like it is right now, I'm gonna date this video just in case you're watching this back in however many years or months from now. It is currently October 1st of 2025. We're heading into fall. And I promise that those fall, beautiful, spooky, awesome decorations that you would love to put in front of your house, like one of those 20-foot skeletons, you know you want one of those. I promise that that item and other similar items are likely marked above the suggested retail price. There is demand to be factored in, there's seasonality, there's all sorts of things that are factored into the pricing of items, especially when we're talking about retailers. Pokémon is not Walmart, okay? We're not talking about some massive retail space that's selling hundreds of thousands of SKUs all at one time, but a Pokémon does function very similarly to that, and so does the TCG hobby in general. So that's really where I'm coming at from saying MSRP is a joke, because it doesn't exist in reality. No matter what product we're looking at, you could look at cars. Look at dealerships selling vehicles. Every vehicle has a recommended retail price, and I promise that you can talk to that dealership, you can bring in a trade-in, you can work a deal to get that vehicle priced under that recommended price. But also you could get swindled and end up paying $5,000 to $10,000 more than what you should pay for that vehicle. It happens all the time, and really it's just a matter of give and take from the buyer and seller side of things. Right now the market is hot. Right now product is limited. Demand is surging. Pokemon is hotter than ever, and that is a recipe for disaster when it comes to getting more affordable products. Now, obviously, in a perfect world, Pokemon would see the issues, immediately kick into gear, and immediately be able to throw some water on the fire to keep things at or around the MSRP range. But also remember, the opposite of this situation is also true. And just 12 to 13 months ago, we literally saw it. I know that we hear it all the time, and people, the nostalgianomics of the scene, the really hardcore like investor bro side of it, they like to throw this in your face, right? They like to say, you know, where were you at 13 months ago and booster boxes were $80? Where were you at when they were $100? I'm not gonna go that route with it, okay? But what they're saying is true, but how they're packaging it is mean, okay? There's no reason to be mean. In fact, whenever we talk about scalpers and all this, there's a point to all this, okay? I think content creators are going to rage bait. In fact, this is me rage baiting. I'm a pretty reasonable, even kill guy, so I'm not very good at rage baiting. But if the beginning of this video kind of tweaks you off a little bit, that's awesome. That's what I intended it to do. But okay, let's get back to it. The reality is about 13 months ago, right before Surging Sparks came out, things were a lot cheaper. The market was in a totally different spot. Yes, you could kind of feel that things were changing, but they hadn't yet. You could still buy booster boxes at $100, $120. All of the booster boxes, you could still find really reasonable 151 products sitting around. It wasn't surging like it is now. You could pre-order Surging Sparks for under MSRP. But what I think all this kind of shows the seasonality of markets, right? Like there's up markets, there's down markets, there's left markets, there's right markets, there's all sorts of stuff going on that impact the market price. And I really do think that MSRP is a joke in the sense that it doesn't exist. On the flip side of that, if you've made it 6 minutes into the video and you haven't left a negative comment yet, I want to reason with you. If you are watching this video and you are frustrated by the market right now because you can't afford product, you can't find product on store shelves, because anytime you show up and there's a restock happening, there's a line of 50 people already there waiting and they've been there all day, and you think to yourself, how did they know? How are they here? How do they have time to wait that long? What do they do? What do they do for a job? What do they do for all of their, you know, what do they do? Because that's exactly how I feel too. I have definitely there's actually a specific Target in my area that I like to go to sometimes. Like there's a Costco close by there where my family and I shop a lot. We love Costco. And then there's this Target. And I like to stop in, check out the cards. It's always empty, but sometimes I find like a one-piece pack there, or they were carrying Gundam the other day. I don't have them with me. I thought they were right here. I opened some Gundam packs for the first time. I love anime, and Gundam Wing was one of the first animes I ever saw alongside Dragon Ball Z. So I have waited so long to open those packs, and it was so exciting. Just 2 packs, guys. I opened 2 packs. It was exciting. So I have gotten really lucky at this Target. I've caught like 3 or 4 restocks just walking in on a random evening, and boom, the guy's restocking. Out of those 3 or 4 restocks, there's been one singular time that I waited about 15 minutes and I was able to grab a booster box of Prismatic Evolutions in a poster collection. Actually, I got the binder. I have the binder collection in an ETB, and I was so silly because they said 2 items max. So I just grabbed 2 items and I walked right away as everyone was storming all the prismatic items. I didn't realize that they meant 2 items per SKU. And so I could have gotten 2 ETBs and 2 binder collections. And I know that now, but that was in the midst of like prismatic, like recently launching. And I just like really just wanted to be low key, grab my stuff from my family because we've been waiting to open the set and leave. And that's what I did. I didn't think twice about it. I didn't try to go back and get more. And I just wanted to let you know and reason with you that I see that, I feel that on a real scale. The other times, like the other 3 times that I caught the restock, like what I just explained is so true. There's 20 or 30 people in line. I asked some people how long they had been there because I like talking to people, learning about their favorite Pokemon and everything. And they said they'd been there for 2 to 3 hours and it could be another hour before the restocker was done. And I just said, nope, I can't do that. I do not have the time to wait like that for 2 items per SKU. It is not worth my time. I have a family, I have a full-time job, I have this side hustle, I do run a Pokemon business, and we'll talk more about that in the scalping side of things. But listen, it's not worth my time. And if you are standing on the outside of the hobby saying, I am so frustrated, I'm pissed off because I can't find any packs at a reasonable price, I feel that on a real level. While I do sell and engage with the Pokemon hobby, I buy off the secondary market. Again, we're gonna talk about all that in a second. I don't open a lot of packs for myself. Like I do not, my family and I, we do not sit down and just rip packs all the time because we can't. I think that things are overvalued, and I do not think it's worth opening packs. I do not value the packs that I have at the price that they cost right now. And so I think that you and I, if I can just reason with you, if you're like on the MSRP gang like train, I reason with you, and I am personally not buying for myself in this market. I'm not buying packs to copiously rip like I want to. In fact, here's a little story of this. Back in the day, you know, Costco tins, the packs of the tins. Costco released a, you know, are they 5-packs? I forget. I think it's a 5-pack of tins. So altogether, that's 10 packs. So they had those going. They had those for sale. It was a Paldea. It was some like Paldea kind of tin, and it had 1 pack of Silver Tempest and 1 pack of SV Base. Now I went to Costco. My wife, family were there, and I was like, oh my gosh, Pokemon cards! I have to get these. So I bought 3 of them. And they were retailing at like 35 bucks or something, which is like $3.50, you know, per pack if you do all the quick math. Which is literally just 35 divided by 10, super easy math. Anyway, so I was like, that's a great pack per price. And the market was not booming right now, okay? It was not booming. I thought that was a great pack per price. It was under retail, under MSRP, and I was like, this is totally worth it to have some fun with the fam. So I ripped all those packs, and then like about a month later, I went back to Costco for some family stuff, and I saw that the like half pallet that was left of those tins were marked down to like $19. Okay, like I just did the quick math for you, but think about that. I looked at that and I said, you're telling me I can buy 10 packs of Pokemon cards, 1 SV base, 1 Silver Tempest for under 2 buckaroonies? I loaded up, okay? I look like a scalper, and I was new. I'm fairly new, like back into the hobby since 151. I didn't even really have I didn't have reference for what a scalper is, but my basket was full, okay, of those $19 tins at Costco. And I remember the person talking to me at the checkout, and they're like, that's a lot of Pokemon. I was like, yeah, I can't wait to open all of it. And guess what? I didn't keep that sealed. I ripped everything. And I got some awesome IRs from SV Base. Loved it. It was like one of the first sets I ever started collecting because of that experience. And I thought to myself, like, oh, I have so many Silver Tempest packs. Can't wait to open this. I saw the Lugia. I got diddly. I got nothing from those tins. It's almost like Pokemon put all the dud packs in that Costco product. That's probably not reality, and I hear that Sword and Shield pull rates are pretty abysmal, but I experienced that firsthand. It was so devastating to open Silver Tempest. Yes, I got some Vs or whatever, I got some little hits. No alt art, guys. I opened a ton of those packs. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So MSRP is a joke. It doesn't exist. It's never existed. There will be markets where product is valued over MSRP. There will be markets where it's valued extremely under MSRP. And then you're gonna find some really, really rare times that prices are close to MSRP. But the decision that you and I have to make in any sort of market is whether or not we're going to engage with the market where the prices are. And I think that that's ultimately the whole crux of this video is if you're watching this, you're frustrated by the market, you want to find packs, but you are adamantly opposed to the current prices, that is okay. It is okay for you to step back and not engage in the hobby. In fact, I think that right there, that sentiment of saying, you know what, I'm not going to engage with the hobby, is a very important data point for Pokemon to consider. Now, is Pokemon going to see you, like you, singular you, not engaging the hobby? No, there's no chance that they're going to see one singular person stepping back. But if there is enough demand, enough consumers that take a step back, that will be noticed, and that will be another data point for Pokemon to consider and look at whenever they're considering their approach to the market. Is that necessarily going to happen when demand is surging at all-time highs? Probably not, but I still think that there's value in any individual or any group of people saying, this is not okay. I'm not comfortable engaging with the hobby. I'm going to step back. And so if that's you and you want to step back from the hobby with where things are, more power to you. I totally support you. And I kind of made fun of the investor bros. I love watching investing content because personally, I think everyone that engages in the hobby, I think the hobby is just a beautiful thing. I think there's so many different ways to engage with it. I think if you're a casual, true hobbyist, to a collector, to an investor, to a retailer, like all of us work together to make the hobby what it is. And I think every single person, every single link in that chain is just as important as the other person. And so it really frustrates me when I see investor bros and people on the MSRP side, on the community side of things, whenever we start throwing stones at each other and it becomes a us versus them mentality, I'm not a big fan of that. And I know that if I get it, like I get that everyone on social media is supposed to play this like role, right? We're supposed to have this role that we play. We're either gung-ho about the market being on fire, we're investor bros, we're saying right now is the time to buy Destined Rivals at $420 or $40. Right now, it will never go lower than that. No, I don't believe that. I'm not going to say that. And then on the other side, there's the content creators that are saying, oh, I'm for the community. Don't worry, everything's going to get reprinted. Those investor bros are terrible, nasty, dirty people. No, I'm not going to say that either because I don't agree with either opinion. I think that we should, like, I hate to sound so cliche, but we should have a mutual respect for one another. And just because I don't necessarily agree with the way you engage with the hobby, it doesn't make you any less important to the hobby, okay? Because this is an ecosystem that, from the Pokemon company to all of us involved with it, keep things going, okay? So anyways, I'm done. I'm gonna get off that soapbox for a little bit there. But it's perfectly fine for you not to engage in the hobby. In fact, I support it. And don't listen to any don't listen to the Poke investor bros. Don't listen to the for the community people as well. Listen to yourself. You are your own person. You make your own decisions. You decide where to deploy your money and where not to deploy your money. And you should be confident in your decision and don't let other people influence you to make decisions that you wouldn't make otherwise. Or try not to. It's very difficult to do that. And to say to all, like, we're going to transition into scalping the conversation there. And we're at 18 minutes. This is crazy. I thought this was going to be like a 10-minute video. Psych. Listen, don't play the game. There is no us versus them. There is you, there is your money, and there are Pokemon cards. Do you feel comfortable buying Pokemon cards for what they cost right now? If the answer is no, and you are frustrated by the state of the market, don't spend your money on Pokemon cards. At the end of the day, I believe everyone watching this is likely an adult. If you're watching Pokemon investing in business content, you found the maybe rage baity title. You wanted to jump in and leave some negative words. You are an adult and you can spend your money however you want to, but that's honestly my advice is if you're not comfortable with where the market is, don't play the game. When you turn on Nostalgianomics video and he's got this crazy like, yeah. Sorry, Alex, if you watch this, I promise you don't look like that. I was just trying to imitate you and it didn't go well. He's got that crazy face when he gets passionate though, and he kind of points at the camera. I did not do good with that imitation, guys. Please forgive me. When you see content like that, do not take it personally. I really do think that from Alex's Nostalgianomics to the oh my gosh, I can't think of anybody else's name, to the for the community people, Um, I think of Danny Phantom. That's not Danny Phantom seems like a really genuine person on camera. But I'm thinking of someone else, and I can't think. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think everyone is playing a character. Okay, I think they're saying things that they believe in, but they're doing it. They're characterizing themselves, and they're playing it up. Okay, so when they point at the camera and they're saying you missed out, you should have been buying when things were $100, when things were $80. You don't deserve to have a voice here because you missed out. Where were you 13, 12 months ago? You're not playing the game. Okay, you make your decision. You're not playing the game. You roof the ball. You're not playing the game. You know what I mean? Just go home. So I think we need to move away from the us versus them. Is that going to happen? Absolutely not. But if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. Like, do you think that we should move away from the us versus them? I don't think it does any good for us to stand around in a circle, all wearing Spider-Man costumes and pointing at each other. Like, we're all just Pokemon fans. You know what I mean? Okay, transitioning. We're all just Pokemon fans, right? Pointing at each other, saying, you're the problem. But what happens in a hobby, in a market, when there are people that are not truly fans that engage in order to make a profit off the fans? Okay? You see what I did there? That was a beautiful transition. If you agree, let me know. That was good. What happens in a hobby, in a collector's environment where non-fans dive into the market to take advantage of the market and make profit? That is whenever we can talk about scalpers. Now, I understand that everyone watching this probably has a different definition of what a scalper is. Some of you have let me know with very heated comments that because I'm a business, because I run a business and I sell Pokemon cards, that I am a scalper. If you think that, more power to you. This video is not here to change anybody's mind. It is to share my own thoughts and opinions and my viewpoints and approaches to the hobby. If you think that anybody that engages in the hobby that makes money off of selling Pokemon cards is a scalper, I am like, that is crazy. I do not agree with you. But I support you, and you should live out you should make your own decisions, live out your convictions. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to use the extremes, okay? I'm also not, I'm not going to consider that extreme opinion here, because I think that these extreme sides of things, or if you're on the opposite side and you say, there's no issue with scalping at all, more power to you. Everyone should run out to Target, try to swipe all the products you can, because we out here hustling. We're trying to make $1. We're trying to survive. We're trying to make it in life, get a little leg up on everybody else. And the kids don't need it. The other adults that are buying Pokemon cards, which is primarily adults, they don't need it either. It's all for me because I need to make money. I need to make that bread. Okay. I don't really like either. I usually don't like extremes on anything, any spectrum, any conversation. The highly extreme conversations and thoughts and opinions are typically ones that I do not engage with and do not consider it to be part of a really fine-tuned and really helpful conversation. Because a lot of times people that have those extreme opinions, they're not willing to consider the other person. And so therefore, there's not really a conversation that can be had. So if you are on that extreme side, one way or the other, thank you so much for being here. If you want to try to if you want to try to give me a convincing argument for why people should agree like you, jump down in the comments. I know that's opening a can of worms right there, but I will read all the comments and I will respond to them because I do that all the time. So I am making a statement. I'm making a statement that scalpers are not the problem. That is a crazy statement. Because whenever you go to your Pokemon vending machine, or whenever you look online on Instagram, you watch a Rattle Pokemon video, it definitely looks like these scalpers are kind of the problem. I believe that scalpers are a symptom of the problem. And this is not new, this is not some groundbreaking revelation. The clouds split open, bread fell from the sky, and all of a sudden I'm enlightened and saying something you've never heard before. This has been said a lot of times online, and if this is your first time hearing it, that's sick. I'm pretty smart, right? No, I really think that scalping is not the problem. It's a symptom of the problem. Now let's define scalpers. Scalpers are people that run two retail places like Best Buy, Target, Walmart, GameStop, and their goal is to take advantage of the system. So you may say, well, GameStop has limits. How could you do that? You bring in your whole family and cousins and, second removed, step aunts or whatever, and you have everyone buy the maximum amount because everybody has everyone's using the same number for the pro account. I don't know if that works actually. I've never tried that. But everyone's jumping in, everyone's trying to gamify it, right? You just bring your whole family in and all of a sudden there's 50 people there and they're all, you're giving them $5 here and there, maybe to cover their gas, maybe like, oh, get a free like Starbucks on me, guys. Don't worry, like I'm not making that much money. I'll give you a $5 bill. Whenever like that person's gonna flip it for like double what it's worth, right? That's scalping to me. And I think that there definitely are ways to get around any sort of limits or, walls that are put up artificially by retailers. I mean, we see botters all the time on even PokemonCenter.com, getting through it, ordering a ton of stuff. So that's scalping to me. That's what I'm talking about. But what do I mean that they're like scalping's not the problem? It's a symptom of the problem. The problem is that there's not enough supply to meet demand. I've heard some YouTubers I really highly respect, they say that Pokemon has a demand problem. I disagree with that. I think that any sort of supply and demand scale, I think that you'll always have to look, like demand is the thing that manufacturers and companies need to look at. It is ultimately the guiding light for you as a company, as a business, to determine how much supply is needed. Okay, like demand is the constant like variable that you need to watch, monitor, analyze, study, spend hundreds or thousands or hundreds and thousands of dollars, millions of dollars studying to understand consumer and demand behavior. From that, you can establish some business plans and approaches to how to roll out your product and how to maximize profits. Now, right now, demand is surging, and you could say that demand's a problem because it surged too quickly, therefore making a very large company like Pokemon not able to pivot their strategy quick enough. I think all of that's fair, but remember, like Pokemon, they knew they were going to release Phantasmal Flames probably over a year ago, guys. Like they've had this plan for a long, long time. And so they're a large mega corporation, the top grossing IP of all time in the world. That company is not going to be able to change and pivot on a dime. That company has a lot of infrastructure. They've got a lot of employees, all sorts of stuff that they have to consider for how they approach the market. Now so we have a very large company that can't change on a dime, that has to take time building infrastructure, making sure things are going to work out correctly, which is a joke because they're making mistakes right now. They have to take time to plan and to roll out their plan for how to approach the market. The demand is still surging though, and there's not enough supply on the market to eliminate and satisfy demand. So what happens? Well, it creates opportunity. It creates opportunity for your LGSs. It creates opportunities for your big box retailers like Best Buy, GameStop, Walmart. And it creates opportunities for people that are looking to make a quick buck, like your scalpers. People call them sneakerheads. It's really, this sort of environment is just an opportunity for people that actively sell in the hobby. Now, there's a lot of different approaches to this and how people can maximize profits. One way to do that, if you're on the big box side, is kind of the approach we're seeing from GameStop. GameStop is kind of unique in their approach and positioning because of the kind of retail space they are. And so what has GameStop done? GameStop has taken the opportunity created by a unfortunate market situation. And what have they done? They've pivoted their approach to selling to position themselves more as an LGS, as your go-to spot for cards and collectibles. Now, with that, they've limited purchasing like consumer behavior, they've addressed that. So they say we're going to limit product, one per person. Or if you have a pro membership, you get 2 SKUs per product or 2 items per SKU. But at the same time, like you may think like, oh, that's like, oh, let's go GameStop, our everyone's favorite LGS, let's go. But listen, LGS, like GameStop is not an LGS. I joke and say it's your favorite LGS because it's not. It's a mega corporation with millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars that would put to shame any LGS that is out there striving to survive and make the best life for themselves. And so I always have this like, it's like a little soapbox of mine, but anytime that we equate GameStop with an LGS, it's just like, I'm not even an LGS. I'm an online side hustle shop dude, you know? Like I'm an online Pokemon business. Like there's 100,000 of us, right? But like LGSs, like they serve a very specific purpose in the hobby. They provide play space. They provide all of these services and resources for the community and for the hobby itself. And the fact that like GameStop swoops in and they get to like wear a cape, have a big S on their chest, and everyone's hooping and hollering and say, yay. Because listen, GameStop is taking advantage of the situation. They've raised their prices. GameStop used to exclusively sell at MSRP. Just like every other big box retailer that you see that has access to Pokemon distribution. And just so you know, like big box retailers, they don't have access to the distribution that your LGS does. They have an exclusive access that I don't know anything about it. I just know it's not the same. So I'm not going to pretend to know something I don't. But it's not the same system. It's not the same connections. I mean, listen, GameStop has exclusive Pokemon releases. GameStop has exclusive GameStop stamped promos. That is not an LGS, that is not your mom and pop LGS down the road, okay? Anyways, I'm gonna get off this soapbox for a little bit. So GameStop is taking advantage of it. They raised prices, they're making more profits, they're selling out constantly because there's not enough supply, and they're gonna continue to do that until people stop buying and engaging with their product at those prices. I shop at GameStop. I'm not like a whole hardcore GameStop hater, but I do not like the equation. I do not like equating GameStop with an LGS. I do not like that. I will scream at the clouds all day about that because it just feels so wrong to me. So that's how like big box and retailers are taking advantage of it. Obviously, like Walmart and Target and Best Buy, they are doing their best to limit purchase. You know, they're limiting the product. They're selling it. They're selling out all the time. They're making their money. Literally the time it's listed, it's gone, all that kind of stuff. So let's talk about how is this an opportunity for your online card shop or your LGS? Well, online card shops and LGSs always engage the market at market price. And so when the market is low, meaning that prices are under MSRP, typically your best places to buy product are gonna be your LGSs. But also that LGS is maybe only making 5% per box if they're not breaking even or losing money. And so that's a really rough situation too for an LGS to be in. Obviously, like they can buy and sell collections. There's a lot of different ways that LGSs make their money. And I'm not just out here saying that they're just struggling all the time. But when it comes to sealed product in a down market, it's not necessarily going to be your most profitable product that you have in the store. It'll get people in, get them engaging, and possibly open up more opportunities for you to make money in other ways through selling singles, buying collections, et cetera, bulk cards, all that. But right now, LGSs are in a situation where they can take advantage of a higher priced market. And so are LGSs making more money? For sure. For sure, they're making more money, but they also have such limited access to sealed product. And so the number one product in a low market that doesn't make you money is the product that can make you a lot of money in a situation like this. But a lot of LGSs are allocated, they don't have access to as much. And so what's happening is the LGSs are selling out of all their products. And yes, they probably made good margins on it, but then all of a sudden their shelves are empty and people stop showing up because they can't find packs. So how does an LGS solve that? No, they don't just run out to Target and scalp everything. Yes, there have been some situations where we've seen videos of LGS owners doing that, and I think that's deplorable. That sucks. But again, it's a symptom of the problem. It's not the problem. A lot of times LGSs, if you watch, I'm trying to think of some of the LGSs I watch, like RNG Games, if you watch Cardinal Gaming, Kitchen Table TCG, these guys are like buying sealed product off the secondary market. Yes, they are really good negotiators, and yes, they're going to buy it at a percentage of market. So they're not paying necessarily 100% market in a lot of cases, but they're buying at a certain percentage so that they can then list it in their store and make a reasonable margin. They're not making hundreds and thousands of dollars on these products that they're buying from the secondary market. They're making their typical like 20, 30%, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't want to talk out my throat, you know, out my butt or whatever. But they're making the margins that they need to. They're doing what they have to survive in this sort of market. So anyways, I just want to say that because I don't think LGSs are necessarily making bank and just getting rich right now. Unless you have bags like Rudy, which, I mean, obviously maybe some LGSs have been stockpiling up products, and probably this is a great time to offload some of that if they feel comfortable with the prices. And I totally support them for that, especially if there's people out there to meet the demand and to buy these prices. Like, make your money, man. Make your money. It's fine. We don't need to like demonize that, guys. Come on, let's get along. Let's get along. You should want your LGSs to succeed, okay? Let's talk about online retailers and everything. If you're like me, you sell online on TCG Player, are you benefiting from the current market? Absolutely. There's more demand. There's more liquidity in the items that you're selling. For me, I hardly ever sell sealed product. I do run a rip and ship, which you may hate. If you're watching this video 30 minutes in, you may hate that too. But listen, I get Japanese sealed products. I find and buy sealed English on the secondary market for a percentage of market. And I hardly ever have English because it's very hard to buy it at a percentage of market that makes sense for me. While I do like I always list at market. Sometimes I list over market depending on what I pay for it. I don't like listing like 100% above market. No, I don't do that. But anyways, that's how all of us on the selling side are taking advantage of the situation and really trying to do our best to capitalize off of what I think is we're going to look back at this and say like, wow, that really happened. And now we're in a down market. Like there's going to be a time we look back and be like, hey, you remember the good times back in like 2024, 2025? Those were crazy times, man. We're gonna look back and say those kind of things. And I'm so curious, like being a new seller, like just for the last like 10 months, being a new seller, being somewhat newer to the hobby again since 151 and getting back into it, just really loving it. I'm just trying to sit back and watch, guys. I'm trying to sit back, watch, learn. And I truly, as I've been analyzing, as I've been watching people with a lot more experience than myself, I think these two things are true. MSRP is a joke. It's never existed. It never will exist in a perfect world or situation. The second thing is I think that we should stop doing the us versus them stuff. Like I do not agree with that. You'll see me. You'll see my thumbnails. My thumbnails will 100% be rage bait. Sometimes they'll be clickbait. 100%. I will take a graph and I will flip it around to make it look like Destin Rivals went from 500 to 0. I will 100% do that because this is YouTube, guys. I need those clicks, okay? We need to grow. But in my content, I will not take that approach. Like it is not an us versus them situation. And I just think it's so sad that that's kind of what we're devolving into. But I understand that like emotions and everything are super high right now on both sides, on every side. And then lastly, I think scalpers are not the problem. I think they're a symptom of the problem. And the only way that this is going to change is either for some large macro situation to happen where unfortunately like the actual stock market and people are in, you know, things get a lot harder for us. And so demand has to pull back because we're having to do other things to make ends meet, which I think is unlikely. Or Pokemon will address the situation and they will print enough to satiate demand. I don't think that they're going to flood the market. I think it may appear that they're flooding the market with maybe a handful of sets. Think about Crown Zenith. I remember when I first got back into the hobby around 151, it looked like the market was flooded with Crown Zenith. It looked like it looked like I could find Silver Tempest everywhere. It appeared that things were flooding, just overflowing everywhere. But now we look back and Crown Zenith is extremely expensive. Like, can you imagine if you just went to like, imagine a year and a half ago, you went to every Target and Walmart and you bought every single Crown Zenith ETB that you saw on site and you put it in your closet. Silence for dramatic effect. Isn't that's crazy? You would have so much money. I would have so much money. But we don't have crystal balls, right? There's no way we could have known. We thought that product would be there forever, probably. We bought some and opened it and enjoyed it. I did. And so, yeah, that's just the case. I think that scalpers are the symptom and not the problem. I think that we should all get along. We should have a mutual respect for one another, even if we disagree how each other engage in the hobby. It shouldn't be us versus them. And I think that MSRP is a joke. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you made it to the end of the video, if you've watched 40 minutes, that's impressive. Comment down below. Let me know, and I will give you a virtual fist bump in the comment section. Quick shout out is over here, just to like shout it out, guys. I just had Inferno X come in. Oh, that's upside down. Inferno X is here. I'm so excited. We're going to open this weekend on stream. Actually, tomorrow, if you're watching this, it's Wednesday, October 1st. So tomorrow, October 2nd, we're going to open this. If you're watching this in the future, you missed out. I'm so sorry. I'll probably have more. This will probably be a lot cheaper than it is right now. And a lot of my boxes have already sold locally, which is crazy. But I will still have boxes available for stream, and I'm really excited about that. Have a good one. I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.